Hi and welcome to the Indulge podcast with me, Roma Laishram. And like every week, I have someone super amazing on the show. Today, I'm in conversation with L Subramaniam, the one and only violin maestro. We'd like to call him the father of fusion and so many other titles. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Pleasure to be.
Welcome to the show. I'm going to jump right into the conversation because I think I'd like to keep this really short and sweet. So, the first thing is you have an amazing show coming up at NMACC in Mumbai soon.
Yes.
It's called Conversations with the Subramaniams.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be performing there, what you'll be presenting to the audience?
This is in a way very special because I'm going to be performing. Normally, I do a lot of concerts with my wife Kavita and Bollywood and Beyond or fusion. But here I'm going to be playing with my daughter, performing with my daughter Bindu, my son Ambi, and also my granddaughter Mahati will also be performing.
How nice.
I have a fantastic backup musicians who have been playing with me for many years. And on tabla, Tanmay Bose, and Free Joe on keyboard, and Keith Peters on bass, and Ramana Murthy on mridangam, and a fantastic group of people. I've also invited a fantastic dancer who is from Spain.
Okay.
She has learned ballet, but she's also special in flamenco. Her
Lovely.
mother is fantastic. So she is doing some of the choreography and do join us as a guest artist. So it's going to be not only music but also a little bit of dance from flamenco and ballet all mixed together.
Lovely. I think audiences are going to absolutely love it. But, sir, let's quickly get into a little bit more details about your journey because you have literally been one of the first people who even brought in the idea of fusion, collaborations, and all of these things. And today, it's very important that a lot of artists across the country are following your footsteps. So, how did that journey begin, and how did you first think I need to take my music out of the country and collaborate with so many artists?
It's more than me, it was my father. Because if you see early 50s, 60s and all those times, violin was basically an accompanying instrument.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a sarangi, somebody play with the singer or other instrumentalist like harmonium something. My father's dream was to make the Indian violin heard all over the world in major concert hall. Not those days they used to have concerts in Indian organization many times in basements of the houses of doctors and engineers in US. So they used to say we went for a US tour, but not in Carnegie Hall, not in Lincoln Center,
Very true.
not in Sydney Opera House. So his dream was taking the violin there. Then he realized there are always two things. One, accompanying style of playing is different than solo style. In order to be a soloist, you have to create a lot of fantastic technique, powerful playing, tonal quality. Because violin also being a very familiar Western instrument, they always judged us, they thought we were playing ethnic or folk music sitting on the floor. So he said, that impression has to be raised. This is a classical music we are playing, and our Carnatic classical music is probably one of the oldest in the history.
Without doubt. Yeah.
So he said, like in the Western music, many people who learn violin, they either become, very few people become successful as soloists. Rest of them go and play with the chamber orchestra or an orchestra first. He said like that here, accompanying style is the only style, so everybody is doing that. And once in a blue moon they are doing, so let us do solo. So he changed the whole thing. And his dream was to see, so he used to tell, go and listen to Menuhin, go and listen to major orchestras. And that's what we have to do to make it. So he created a lot of new techniques. So what I'm doing is his technique, what he taught, his dream. I never had that dream. I just want to be like my father, play the violin, given the chance. But I've been sitting in Chennai playing the violin. But this thing, this has to be taken all over the world. So by the time I finished my medicine, I got a full-time scholarship to do my master's in music with permission from my mother, because everybody trying to convince my parents he's a stupid fellow. He's a doctor going to US, he can mint money and be happy, all of you. Instead of that, he's going to become a composer. Nobody will hear his compositions.
But thank God you decided to become one.
No, because usually composers are played after they're dead and gone.
True.
So nobody plays composition, whoever it is, So they used to tell my father and mother, he want to be a composer. He wouldn't even hear his own composition, so he should not be doing it. But my father said, if you can take the violin to a different level, try, otherwise you come back here. So the only condition my mother had was, you finish the medicine register as a medical doctor. You cannot just drop out and go at the fourth year or second year, then you will be at 12th grade, you won't have anything. But I'm very grateful to her because when I went to do my master's, after I finished the master, I need a bachelor's degree to get the master's degree.
True.
So when I did my PhD, I had to get all the BA, bachelor's degree and master's degree and to get the certificate. So every time I think of this PhDs and everything I got, I thank my mother because otherwise, whatever it is, I finished my MBBS, registered as a medical doctor, went there. But fortunately, what happened was people like Egudu Menuhin, other people who my father wanted me to see, they started, in fact, I got a call from Menuhin's office whether I will play for his 70th birthday in Bonn for the television. So that was like a super exciting thing. And all of a sudden, I want to meet Many, and now I'm getting a call from his office whether I'll come and play for him. And so I played for him. So immediately after that, he came, got onto the stage, hugged me, and said we should do something together.
How lovely.
Which in US there are managers,
True.
there are record companies. So an artist is in many ways bound by all this management and record company. They won't allow you to record with anybody else.
True.
So management is also will say, no, we can do only this. But he said, let us do so. Subsequently, we did a big thing for the United Nations for the 40th year of India's independence.
Lovely.
So then Zubin was interested. Maestro Mehta said, why don't you write a new piece for me? So a lot of things started happening. Then the fusion side, a lot of great artists started, they wanted to collaborate. So I didn't want to start the fusion initially to be known in India because there's a set of people with a preconceived notion.
Very true. Very true.
So even before hearing, they make judgments. If somebody plays top classical violin and they do some collaboration, immediately they'll write, oh, they have diluted, they have gone, classicism is gone, even before listening. So that kind of thing was prevalent very much there.
Still is actually.
Still there now. But I think they should be open-minded. See, because to take our music globally, we have to be open-minded.
Very true.
And without innovation, we are dead.
True. So true.
So a lot of things happened. Herbie Hancock, George Duke, all these people started collaborating. But I did release the albums here initially because I told my father. Father said, the reason was one of the devotees of Sati Sai Baba, Richard Bach, he produced Ravi Shankar and M.S. Subbulakshmi, a lot of the great artists he produced.
True.
One day he approached me and said, why don't you do a fusion album? At that time I was playing with my violin trio with Paul Katmani in the classical scene as a pure classical. Established. So I told him, look, I had to go back to India. After I finished my MA, I'm going back to India. So he said, no, you should do it because what you do, other people cannot do it.
Very true.
So you do it and we will make it in such a way so that I will sign a contract. You own the rights to India. So
nice.
Till you want to release it, you don't have to release it. But give us the permission to release it in US and Europe and Canada. It was a blessing. So with that thing, I experimented. I didn't want to form a group. So I had, I did the very first album called Fantasy Without Limits. I didn't have a group, so I wanted a keyboard player, bass player, so we arranged everybody. I finished it and went to Europe doing my Indian classical. Said he called me. He said, you know what has happened? I said, your first album has been selected as one of the 10 best albums of the year, and you are along with Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, all the 10 greatest jazz artists. And I said, I'm not even playing jazz, it's my own music. So now he said, you had to give me 4 more albums.
Lovely.
So like that, the fusion went. Then later on, after I did the conversations, a lot of people started asking me to do it. Jazz Yatra said, can you bring Grappelli to India?
How lovely.
With Larry Curiel and things like that. So that was the major thing, first major tour I did fusion here with Larry. But also for Indian violinists, generally, they had the option, you either become an accompanist and play with somebody or try to teach somebody and make money. But now, since we did only exclusively solos. Later on, a lot of youngsters had that courage to do solos. Many groups started doing solos.
Right, true.
And some people who could not do only solo alone, they started forming a group. Now you see all over India and different states, there are groups with a violin, with a keyboard, bass, and they're all happy.
Yes.
They're either playing in some corporate shows or five-star hotels. So a lot of groups popped up. So it became a total different landscape for violin music.
Absolutely.
Not either you play a classical music or you end up teaching, nothing else there. So he's responsible for that.
Lovely. Very, very dignified of you to give him full credit.
No, it's true.
But I must say that I think you're one of the few artists who has ensured that the Indian violin or the Carnatic violin continues to have a bunch of people who want to learn it and continue to learn it in India. And I think in many ways you opened the gates because you allowed for fusion to happen and you didn't care about what critics would say. Considering the fact that you are still very much the poster boy of the Indian violin across the world, people will think of you first when you talk about it. Have you seen Western musicians look at the instrument differently? Because for a long time, as you said, they only looked at it as music, as folk music or traditional music. But today, do you see a lot of people innovating in the way they collaborate with this particular instrument or accompanying it within their own chamber orchestras? Or have you seen a shift in the way they look at the instrument?
Definitely, because since many when, a lot of the great artists who are Western violinists have collaborated with me. Including the last two collaboration was this, one of the greatest Russian violinists, Vadim Ripin. He even came to Lakshmanarana Global Music Festival. We played in Bombay and other cities. And this one of the greatest violinists from Germany, and Sophie Mutter.
True.
We have done something together. So a lot of violinists have done, a lot of major orchestras have asked, can you write a new piece for us and play? Otherwise they will do only Western violin. With the West violinists, they were doing it.
True.
So the number of orchestral concerts I have done is, hundreds of concerts I have done with the orchestra, playing my own music. And the biggest publisher, Shot, has published all my compositions. And that is on one side as a classical thing. On the fusion, I'll show you the album cover. Last week, we have released an album, double album.
Lovely.
The vinyl is coming back, which has 10 jazz greats.
Oh, how lovely.
All in one album. It never happened in the past.
You'll be releasing it in India?
Yeah, it'll release in India.
Lovely.
But it has been I'll show you the album cover.
Sure.
You'll see that it has all the 10 jazz greats. Some of them are no more, unfortunately. But normally the companies won't give permission for big legendary artists to be used in another album.
So happy that's happening. Now, so moving on to how you look at the violin and your particular craft and how it's translating into so many things. You've kind of answered this in the previous questions. But looking at India per se, and as you said, so many young musicians getting onto it, what would be your advice to them? Considering the fact that people are playing around with the instrument, doing what they can, taking it to new horizons. Since you are someone who has experimentated for such a long time, what is your advice to younger violinists who are taking on the Indian violin today?
So there are two things which is very important. One, you really have to work very hard to master the instrument so that you will get the respect of the other violinists from other parts of the world.
True.
Because if you see an average, even an advanced student on the Western Conservatory has a better technique than some of the most established violinists.
Okay.
So technically we have to be solid to get the mutual respect. Then only they will collaborate with you. And second thing, if you are also open to learning the basics of Western music, so when you try to collaborate, it is like I play something, you play something, at the end we will end together with a tihai. That's not you should get into a little bit of composition. For that you should know the other side, so you know what best you can write, and for that, that knowledge will always help. In fact, we have just released a book called Raga Harmony recently for people, young musicians, and even other people who want to be composers and musicians. They want to write music without knowing full, because if you have to really know harmony and counterpoint, it also takes many, many years to master that tradition.
Absolutely.
And to become a conductor, you have to know to read the full score and everything. True. So that the opportunity, if you don't have it, which we don't have it in this country, then these books give the tips to write based on your raga knowledge and everything, how you can write big orchestral work and still it'll sound like a very strong orchestral piece.
Incidentally, I have the book and I absolutely loved it. So
You read
thank
the
you.
book?
Yes, I did. Thank you so
Thanks.
much for that book.
Thanks a
As
lot.
someone who's interested in classical music, it was very,
Thank you.
very, very illuminating.
Thank you.
So my next question is specifically now looking at younger people who are very interested to learn Carnatic music, to learn Western orchestral music, whatever it might be. But today the world has evolved into such a place where I feel like the classical world and the non-classical world are separating even more, simply because people feel like it's not accessible or they're intimidated or whatever might be the reason. As someone who has very naturally accepted this as a part of your life, what do you think is the easiest way to overcome that and make that first move?
There are different things. Whenever we talk about audiences, we cannot blame the audience saying that "No, this audience is not ready to listen to what I am playing." You are playing for them or you are singing for them. So it is your duty to make sure that what you are trying to say, it's like, I'll go and give a lecture, whether anybody listen to it or not, doesn't matter. I'll just go and finish my job and come. The lecture you give, so you want other people to hear and hopefully to convey your ideas so that you come across with certain points which will make some sense to them.
Nice.
So musically also, if you are, it's almost to understand psychologically the type of audiences, how to convert them and convey them what you're doing. Because musically, basically, music is 7 notes.
True.
So these 7 notes, when you do an alap, if sometimes you do an alap with even 5 notes. So 5 notes, if you repeat the same combination of note 3, 4 times, they will get bored. So an interesting artist will try to do interesting combination
Very true.
with variation, with emotional approach, with tonality, different dynamics, different combination. All those things, only with 5 notes, you have to play for 45 minutes or 4 minutes. So this is responsibility of the artist. You cannot say, no, I have only 5 notes, so I play, you listen or listen, otherwise it's not my problem. So if you are interested in being able to convey what you're doing, first responsibility is from the artist's side.
How refreshing to hear that.
Definitely. Second thing, many times the organizers, what they do is try to put only established artists and vocalists and things like that. Instrumentalists are very, very important because you see internationally, even today, if an opera singer comes and sings, how many people will go?
Absolutely.
Because there's a language, somebody will sing in Italian, somebody in German, somebody in
True.
Spanish. You don't know the language. So like that, when our singers go outside and sing different languages, there are some limitations. Because to my knowledge, many of the global world music festival, mainly instrumentalists are dominating. So if you promote instrumentalists, then our music will survive.
True.
They will also go out and learn how to face the difficulty. So we have to train and give opportunities to the youngsters, saying that, oh no, if I put them, the people are not coming, so we will call only established artists. It is like, the West also in certain orchestras, the listeners, people who are coming as a regular,
True.
people are senior citizen. After 10 years, they won't have anybody in the auditorium.
True. Very true.
So this has to be thought about by the organizers, promote youngsters and given space for them. They might make some mistakes. So what? Everybody makes mistakes. Then after 2 times, they will know how to convey, how to do nicely without mistakes. People cannot do everything right all the time. So the promoters should have the capacity and also thoughtfulness to promote brilliant young people, to promote and give an opportunity, and also give opportunity for them to go abroad and everything. In order to music to survive, this is very, very important.
Especially the world becoming it's become a global village. A lot of people are tempted to ignore our traditional music, our Carnatic music, our classical music, and focus more on the West because it's easily understood, bigger audience, all of that. But for someone who's come from both and who understands both, what do you think are the benefits of someone basing their education in the Indian classical style? Have you benefited with your core learning here and then applying it to other?
My whole approach has been the foundation I got from my father, Indian classical music. He was a very strict and very innovative teacher. And he was a visionary because, in 30s, 40s, 1940s and 50s when he was there, nobody thought of going out and performing
Absolutely.
in major halls.
True.
They didn't have opportunity. But that was the time he used to think this violin should be heard. So I think for me, you have to be open-minded, and you also have to try and be the best way to do convey everything. It is all keep on working with the positive thoughts and learning also.
So do tell us about your performance at the Neeta Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center that's coming up, and what do you think about Neetaji's vision for this beautiful space in Bombay?
Yeah, I'm very, very happy and looking forward to performing on the 14th September at the Neeta Mukesh Ambani's auditorium. I saw the place before it was completed. When it was being built, I was invited to see the place. And at that time itself, it was a huge, stage was very huge. A full symphony orchestra can be there. They can have a theater. They can have, ballet. That kind of spaces available. Plus, also it has multiple theater. One is the big grand theater, which we are performing. Then there are also smaller theater, which gives facilities for other artists to do other interesting things, and in a cozy, a close atmosphere. It's a fantastic place, and I think, like in the world, you see a lot of major concert halls like Lincoln Center or Carnegie Hall, where they have a main auditorium, then another auditorium,
True, true.
facilities. For India, I think I'm very happy this theater has come, and we are really looking forward to performing there.
This has been Romal Naishram on the Indulge podcast, and I've been in conversation with L Subramaniam. Thank you, sir, so much for your
My
time.
pleasure.
Such a pleasure, and I hope the seats are completely sold out for your show in Bombay and you have repeat performances, because I think as a younger generation, we're all looking forward to stalwarts like you to guide us and show us where Indian music can go. Thank you so much for
Very
your time,
kind
sir.
of you to say that. Thanks a lot.